this is Russ. Well, happy Chinese New Year to you all. Gong hei fa choi. This is the year of the tiger. Yes, I know this is one day late, but I'm actually recording this on Chinese New Year, okay? You guys always get to see it the day after. And I couldn't release it on Tuesday because that's our typical knee replacement days. So I didn't want to infringe on that. So anyways, yeah, happy Chinese New Year. So you might be wondering if I celebrate the typical Chinese New Year traditions. Well, me personally, probably not. However, I do miss not being able to get together with family. Yeah, because typically we'll get together with my wife's family. I haven't done so much stuff with my brother. And my sister doesn't live in this general area. So, yeah, I do kind of miss that. Typically during Chinese New Year, you'll get a little red envelope or something that, usually is money inside there. The kids get that. Okay, the adults don't get that. The adults get food. I will tell you this. I did go out and get some Chinese food. I had to do that. My wife actually contacted me, and she says she was really busy today. She didn't even get to eat lunch, so she says, please order some Chinese food so I have some Chinese food when I get back. Okay, so it's sitting there waiting for her, and I have not eaten it yet either. Okay, I cheated. I did eat the egg roll. But the main course of the food I did not eat. Now, let me tell you something about how I usually do this. Now, the place that I went to is the same place that I rode my bike to get Chinese food. Remember that video? I'll post a link up there so you can see that video if you like. It was the first place that I actually rode my bike to do something, okay? Not just riding around. I actually had a purpose. And so I rode my bike to the Chinese restaurant, carry-out restaurant, and picked up some Chinese food and brought it back. So I went back to the same place. They have raised their prices a little bit. Yeah, the prices went up. They used to give you a free soft drink as well, and they don't do that anymore. So no free soft drink. Prices went up a little bit. But we still continue to go there simply because they're the nicer of the two places. Not necessarily the best food. I think the other place, I mentioned once before too, there was two places. I asked whether you would go to the nicer restaurant, nicer in the sense that the people are nicer, okay? They treat you better. Or would you go to one that doesn't treat you as well, but they have better food? And so far, we continue to go to the nicer place, the nicer people, okay? So I went there today, and I was kind of surprised. I first off, when I called up, I know that they know who I am because my name shows up on the receipt all the time because they call me Mr. Russ. Okay, they don't know what my last name is, and neither do you, by the way. But it's on the receipt. It says Mr. Russ because I remember once they asked me what name is it under, and I just said Russ, and so now I'm known as Mr. Russ over there. But I don't think she really knew that I was Chinese. Now, this is not uncommon. I have a lot of people don't really know what my ethnicity is. Some people think I might be Filipino. Some people might think, what were some of the things? One lady thought I was Mexican. She started talking Spanish to me. And I said to her, I says, I'm sorry, I don't speak Spanish. And she looked at me like, what's your problem? I've been mistaken for American Eskimo. Come on, Hawaiian. Apparently, I don't look 100% Chinese, but I will tell you I am 100% Chinese. At least that's what I've been told from my parents. There's no mixing anywhere here. It's 100% Chinese. So I don't know why everyone always thinks that I don't look 100% Chinese. They say some of my features don't look like your typical Chinese. And then my last name as well, you might not be able to deduce that is actually Chinese. Okay, it's a long story behind that one. I won't get into it here, but she doesn't know what my last name is. So all she knows me as is Mr. Russ, and they know me because when the phone call comes in, the phone number pops up, so they know and they see whatever notes they have. Okay. And she knows that we typically order no onions and no garlic because my wife does not eat anything with onions or garlic in it. So when I place the order, she immediately says, oh, no onion, no garlic? I says, yes. So they know who I am. So anyways, I went to go pick up the order, and I said, Happy New Year to her, and I said it in Chinese, Gong hei fa choi, okay? And she was kind of surprised. I said, oh, you know Chinese? I go, well, I says, yeah, well, I am Chinese. And she kind of looked at me like she was kind of surprised that I was Chinese. So she asked me if I spoke Chinese, and I just said, Well, I speak a dialect of Chinese called Toisan. Okay, sometimes this is called Hoisan, and sometimes it's called Taishan. Okay, so depending on which person you ask, they may say it differently. Okay, the way I say it is Toisan, which is Toisan. Okay, it's closely related to the Cantonese dialect. Okay, Cantonese. There's two main dialects that you'll know in China. There's Cantonese and there's Mandarin. I'm going to give you a Chinese lesson now, okay? I know some of you guys don't know the differences here. Okay, there's two main languages that are spoken out in China. Mandarin is probably considered the main Chinese language, and then there's Cantonese. Now, the Cantonese is typically spoken in the southern part of China. If you go to Hong Kong, many of the people speak Cantonese, okay? And a lot of the Chinese restaurants, when they first started up here in the United States, were probably Cantonese restaurants. The cuisine that you would be eating would be Cantonese. If you go to places like dim sum, that's typically Cantonese, okay? But they wanted to unify all of the language together, and so China has been pushing people to be Mandarin speaking. So here's an interesting thing. You could go to places like Hong Kong, and you'll hear the people will speak Cantonese, Mandarin, and English, okay? Because, of course, China, no, I wouldn't say recently, had taken back Hong Kong from the Great Britain. And so, because of that large population of people living in Hong Kong with the British rule, they spoke English and Cantonese. And, of course, with the Mandarin being kind of pushed on them too, many of the people speak all three languages down there. But the main language down there would be typically Cantonese, all right? So anyways, I told her that I spoke Toisan, but not very well, but I do understand it 100%. And I told her that, my mom would speak Chinese to me in Toisan, and then I would answer in English. She said that her kids are the same way, or her son's the same way, that he answers her in English, but she speaks Chinese to him. They speak Cantonese. So I told her, I says, my parents told me that, up until we went to, I think maybe kindergarten, first grade, all we spoke was Chinese at home. So, but once you go to school, you kind of start speaking English because that's what everyone speaks over there. And pretty soon you start losing your ability to speak well. Okay. But that doesn't mean I don't understand it, because I do understand Toisan 100%. And Toisan is kind of very similar to Cantonese. So I would probably say I would understand at least 60% of Cantonese. And I mentioned before, too, that my wife has recently been watching a lot of Chinese movies and Korean movies on Netflix. And we are not Korean, by the way. She likes watching the Korean. I will admit, I have watched a number of the Korean shows with her as well. And we have said that the Korean film industry, I think, does a lot better than the Chinese ones. They have some really good shows, okay? And we don't listen to it in English. We listen to it in Korean. Not that we were trying to learn Korean, but we've both said that if you watch it in their native language and hear the actors speaking in their own language, even though you can't understand it and you're reading the subtitles, you get the inflection of what they're saying, and so the acting sounds better, because when they're screaming and yelling at each other, they're doing it in Korean. You don't understand it, but you understand the intensity of what they're saying based on their inflection of their voice, right? So if you watch things like Squid Game, okay, try watching it in Korean and then just read the English. I watched, I think, the first 3 or 4 episodes of Squid Game in English, because my wife had started watching it without me, and she told me, hey, you might like this show. So I watched, I think, episode 4, and I liked it. So I had to go back to watch 1, 2, and 3 to catch up. And so when she was at work, I started watching it, but I watched it in English. And she says, no, don't do that. Do it in Korean. So the remaining of the show, I watched it in Korean with her. And yeah, I would agree. It actually is better watching it in the native language and then just reading the subtitle. The problem with these subtitles, as you probably know, is that not all of it is 100% accurate, right? Because when we're listening to the ones in Chinese, and they'll say something in Chinese, and and we'll both look at it, and we'll look at the English subtitle of it, and we'll say, that's not what he said. I mean, close, but it's not quite. So we use the Chinese movies as a way to hone our skills in Chinese. Okay, so she's listening mostly for the Mandarin stuff, and I'm listening mostly to the Cantonese stuff. Because I understand more closer to Cantonese since I understand Toisan. So, anyways, that's your Chinese language update. Something for you to learn. Okay. Let's talk about food real quickly since we're on this whole Chinese thing today. Okay. Somebody once asked me what the differences were of the cuisines were. Well, early '60s and things. You might have, like I said, eaten mostly Cantonese food. I think a lot of the people who own Chinese restaurants, they had Cantonese food. And then you started seeing stuff like Szechuan, Hunan food. These would be more from the north. They'd be typically spicier. So if you see spicy type food, that's typically the Mandarin or the Szechuan, the Hunan type foods. It's typically hotter. And my mom had always told me that that's because this part of the food is typically from further north of China. And of course, to keep warmer, they use hotter spices and things. That's what I was told. I don't know if that's true or why that is, but that's what I've always been told. And so if you have things that are not as hot, spicy hot, it's a good chance it's probably, more towards Cantonese style of cooking. So, and again, like I said, if you go and you have things like dim sum, which is mostly eaten during lunch, as a lot of pastries and dumplings, things that type of thing, dumplings mostly. That would typically be more Cantonese style of food. Not to say that they don't have any of the other things, but mostly it's Cantonese styled. Anyways, that is your lesson in Chinese today. I just wanted to at least make a video talking about the new year. It is the year of the tiger, in case I didn't mention that, okay? And, you might ask me, what sign was I born under? Based on my year, some people think I'm one type of sign, but I'm actually, because my birthday is January 15th, and then on that particular year, it fell on the year of the dog. So I am the year of the dog. Anyways, if you like this video, go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and I'll talk to you guys next time.